Tim Petrowich here for Dateline Marion, and as normal, our guest is Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And Coach, Wildcats are 1-1. We talked a little bit after last Friday's 35-34 win over Champaign Centennial. Especially at this point in the season, 1-1 is a whole lot better than 0-2.
It's huge. Yeah, it's a big win for our team, for our program, to prevent that 0-2 start for the second year in a row and beat a good football team. And when you've got a 7-hour road trip approaching, it's good to go 1-1 than 0-2.
Last week, late in the game, you guys were put under a little bit of pressure. Centennial scored with about 2.5 minutes, I think, left, or 2 minutes and 20 seconds, somewhere in that neighborhood. You were able to march down the field. Got good field position after the kickoff. They were able to go down the field and score with 15 seconds left and cap it off with the extra point and get the win. How important is it to be put in a situation early in the season where you have to rely on that 2-minute offense and get you a high-pressure situation right off the bat?
Well, it's certainly a test. I mean, early in the year, that is a big-time test in week 2 of the season because you practice those things each and every week. But, you know, we've only had a few 2-minute drills since we started this year. But we did practice over the summer some. And I think we're in an offense that's fairly conducive to 2-minute drills. And we run an up-tempo offense anyway. So it's not like a big surprise to have to play fast and to make those quick decisions. But I was just proud of the way the kids handled the pressure most of all because it was a pressure situation. It was in front of the home crowd, whom I think we disappointed the week before, and it was nice to see us come out and take it down and score.
Before we get into details about the game, I think one thing that stands out to me is late in the game, you know, even though Centennial was able to score, you really, I think, kind of wore them down at the end of the game, which made it easy for you to come back and answer every time they did.
Yeah, you know, we like to think so. I mean, they were a very good football team, and we knew we had to take advantage of every opportunity we had, and we only had really one possession I was super disappointed in. It was an early 3-and-out that we had where we went backward the whole time. But you only get so many opportunities against a good football team, and I felt like we took advantage of most of the opportunities we were given. I think our defense was opportunistic at times and got some key stops. And I felt like, again, our special teams continues to do well for us. You know, it's a big exchange of field position for us, and other than the one missed extra point, we hit everything else. We had some good punts. We had great return yardage from our kids, and we had a couple of returns set up touchdowns, so that's big for us.
Talk a little bit about Isaac, and we've talked about some of the maturity that he's had early in the game. I think twice in the first half he was intercepted, once in the end zone. Would have been an opportunity for you guys to expand on a lead, but at the same time would have been an opportunity for him to maybe hang his head a little bit and kind of throw in the towel, so to speak, after the first half. Instead, he really responded both on the ground and through the air in the second half.
He did, and that's great to see him. It's great to see a young man. Part of the joy of coaching is watching young men mature and watching them grow right in front of you. I was just real proud of the effort that he gave and the fact that he stayed positive, as you said, in the course of some adverse situations and some mistakes that he made. He continued to be the most upbeat person on the sideline, so encouraging his teammates and saying, let's go get him, let's do it. And that's a huge leadership role for him to step in that role in those crucial moments. Anybody can lead when you're up 2 scores, but where are you at when you're down with 2:40 to go and your team needs to drive the ball and score? And he was that way the whole ball game, and I'm just real proud of the effort he's put forth, his training, his work ethic, and now I'm most proud of the fact that he's really asserting himself as a leader.
Early in the game, Eli Barber just missed the ultimate lineman's dream. Picked off a screen pass, read it well. They were setting up a screen pass. He read it well, picked it off, and it weren't for a touchdown-saving tackle by a pretty athletic quarterback. He might have got that touchdown.
He might have. Yeah, it was a nice momentum swing there early in the game, and thought our defense played really well early, which gave us, Tim, some confidence. And we needed that after the score the score against Central. I think we needed a confidence boost, and the fact that our defense did so well early in the game, and I think it kind of held them in check in their ground game and got the interception, and it just gave us some confidence that we needed to have for the remaining 3.5 quarters.
Talk a little bit about some of the other guys, because we know that Isaac's going to do his thing. We know Braden Ziegler's going to do his thing. I was really impressed with the running game that you got, the effort that you got from a couple of kids, Caden Hilliard and Adolph Paulson really got some big yards for you.
They did, and they were tough yards. They were tough yards between the tackles and made some nice runs, running hard, full speed. They got some quickness to them. And I'm like you. Those two guys I was going to point out. Parker Lively had 3 catches in the ball game.
Yeah.
Parker, not known as a big play receiver, but they were 3 possession catches that were important to us. So a lot of contributions coming from a lot of different guys, and I thought Kyle Hughes had another solid game for us, both running and blocking. So it's we're all about the team effort. We're all about getting a lot of people involved and getting their hands on the ball, and we're seeing that.
I guess if there's one thing that will concern you a little bit, I mean, you were able to shut down their running game for the most part, make them a one-dimensional team. But now 2 weeks in a row, the opposition has got some pretty significant passing yardage on you, and so it's one thing you got to look at defensively.
We came into the season knowing we had 3 brand new defensive backs out of 4. And we knew there was going to be some growing pains, but it was how far could we survive until they grow up and start playing better. I saw better this week, but it's not where it needs to be. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they're learning. We've got a couple of sophomores back there a lot. We got a junior back there at safety, and 1 senior back there who played last year, Aaron Porter. So the youth in our secondary has kind of stood out the first couple of weeks, but I think it's going to get better.
And you mentioned Aaron, and a lot of people aren't going to see this because it doesn't show up in the box score, but he had a huge breakup on a 2-point conversion on that last touchdown they scored before you went down and got the winner.
Coach Dunning made a great timeout. We only had 2 left with a 2-minute drill facing us, but he used a great timeout to make sure we had the right defense in for that 2-point conversion. That may have won the ball game. Been one of the factors that led to winning the ball game because we were able to make an adjustment on defense to give Aaron a chance to make that play, and then we just needed an extra point to win the game instead of a 2-point conversion.
And then one of the other big plays we talked about Friday night after the game, not the last touchdown. You got decent field position about midfield on that last touchdown drive, but before that, when Centennial scored, and then Jaden Lacey returned the kickoff back, has 84 yards to the Centennial 2 to set up an easy touchdown for you and keep the momentum. We talked about how momentum could have swung, and when they got that touchdown, you just grabbed the momentum right back.
Right back. Didn't have time to really belabor it. We allowed a score. They kick it off. We go right down and respond. And special teams again. Mitchell Wilkie kicking the game-winning extra point. Lucas Shevlin, a couple of more good punts. And Adolph with a good return. Jaden with a great return. Those are key to our success right now as our special teams have 2 weeks in a row played very well.
And then I have to mention 5 touchdowns, 6 kickoffs for Mitch Wilkie. I think 5 of the 6 were touchbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
And that last one, after the last touchdown, through the end zone, you don't see high school kickers do that very often.
Well, Mitch has come a long way, and he's gotten better. We're getting some confidence in him, and as he continues to improve, I'm sure our confidence will grow, and we can start looking at some field goal opportunities maybe as the season progresses. But just a nice job by Coach Schulmeister getting his special teams guys ready.
All right. You've mentioned the long bus ride Saturday, playing against a team that you haven't seen before, a Galesburg team that's been a playoff team for a couple of years. They were in the playoffs last year. They play a pretty stout competition, and they're 1-1 coming in, a big win last week. And I think obviously the thing you have to point to, a guy named DeAndre Morin, who had 301 yards rushing last week against LaSalle Peru.
Yeah, they're the real deal. I mean, I've said the last 3 weeks that Central, Centennial, and Galesburg were all going to be very good, and I hold to it. They're all 3 playoff teams. They're all 5A or higher. Talented. They've got some speed. They've got some size. They've got some really good kids up front. We got our hands full, and we did last week, and we responded. So, again, it's part of what we got to do. It's part of our schedule now, and we got to get better and keep improving and keep executing and capitalize on anything that they give us, and opportunities they give us. But good football team. He's an excellent running back, but they're more than that. I can tell you the moment I put the film in that this is a well-coached football team based on the way their kids fundamentally play the game. So Coach Daugherty's a great coach, and he was a legend at Edwardsville for years, and I have a lot of respect for him, and I know he'll have his kids ready.
And I noticed in looking at the game story from their game last week that they threw the ball a little bit. They had a couple other guys who had 40, 50 yards rushing. So there are some other guys who can contribute on that team.
Yeah, there are. They're a good football team, like I said, and they're going to be a handful. It's the ride itself is a challenge for us, but given if it was next door or given if it was the ball game here, we've got our hands full. This is a good team.
Now, you've been able to move the ball offensively in both your games. A couple of mistakes here and there that kept you out of the end zone, but moving the ball has not been an issue. Again, we go back to what we talked about just a few minutes ago. What do the Wildcats have to do defensively to slow this team down a little bit, or can you stop them? But especially, can you slow them down?
Well, we're going to find out. I mean, it's one of those ball games too. There's not a lot to compare because who they play and who we play are so different. So you're trying to watch the film and gauge how good the opponents are. But as I said, fundamentally, I can tell you they're outstanding and they look very athletic. But we got to continue to get better, and that's, to me, that's the big key. If we play the way we played week 1, we have no chance at winning this football game. If we play like we played last week, we have a chance. But if we can keep getting better, it increases those chances. The thing is, they're going to improve too. They're a well-coached football team, so they're going to get better. So the level of improvement this week by the two teams may decide the outcome of the game.
Your team is starting to get used to long road trips. The last couple of years, you've made some long ones. So this is probably just another trip as opposed to something that stands out a little bit maybe.
We have a plan. The difference is this is an overnight trip compared to some of the others, but we've done it before. We have a plan in place. We're comfortable with it. We've already explained it to the kids and kind of given them a rundown of what's going to happen. We're trying to limit the distractions, make it a business trip, leave, check in, eat, do a walkthrough, just the whole routine so they know hour by hour exactly what we're going to do. And hopefully we can use it to our advantage because we do have the kids kind of as a captive audience over the next, during that 24 to 36 hour period. So we're looking forward to a chance to go up there and play an excellent football team.
A lot of film watching on the bus ride?
Yeah, we got plenty of time to do it. So we're gonna. It's like it's a long ride. It's a long trip. But as I said, we'll be able to break down some film and talk about some things by position and maybe the kids will bond a little bit too, which could never be a bad thing.
Just a couple things on injuries. First of all, I noticed after we talked last week, you thought Xavier would play. He did not dress Friday night. Was that more of a precaution, or was he just not quite ready?
Not quite ready. Yeah, it's a week-by-week thing, so we'll wait and see. And don't know if it's this week or next. We just don't know. It's his ankle is getting better. It's a lot better than it was, but we don't want to rush him back too soon.
And then I have to ask a question. I noticed Braden Ziegler, I think, cramped up a little bit there on a late run. He really gets mad when he has to come out, doesn't he?
Yeah, he wants to be out there.
He's a tough guy.
He's a warrior. He really is. And the thing that every player leaves a legacy when they're part of your program and they leave, and the legacy for him will always be his ability to be a smaller back in stature, but he runs between the tackles as well and as tough as anybody I've coached and finds yardage that I don't know where he's finding it. But he scored a couple touchdowns this year where it was the effort that got him in, not the blocking. And we've opened some great holes for him, don't get me wrong. And in the past we have. But on a couple of touchdowns this year, he has found a way to score because I think he's helped will that. And that's the kind of young man he is. He's no complaints, whatever he can do for the team. And his toughness is an awesome thing.
Everybody else pretty healthy then?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Coach Kerry Martin, our guest. The Wildcats are at Galesburg. It's Saturday at 2 o'clock kickoff time. The Cats are going up Friday, but everyone is welcome to come on Saturday, aren't they?
That's right. I want to give a shout out to Clark Ellis, too. I know he was a friend of mine, played football with him. He watches every week from way out on the East Coast. So shout out to Clark.
All right. Thanks a lot. That's Coach Kerry Martin for Dateline Marion. I'm Tim Petrowich.